Hey Reddit.
What's the cringiest thing you've seen a bride and groom do for their wedding?
I'm chill like a pill. For more videos, like and subscribe.
At a classmate's wedding, they were young, maybe like 22, 23. There is apparently a caking tradition in some parts of the country, where when they cut the wedding cake, the couple feed each other a bit and smear each other's faces with cake as a joke. The bride had absolutely made 1000% clear to the groom she did not want to be caked. He did it anyways. And not just a small smear, but full-on smushed the slice in her face. She was stunned initially, then got up, face full of cake, yelled, "You asshole, I told you not to do that," and then ran to a back area in the reception. The groom tried to follow, but the bridesmaid's mother of the bride stopped him. So he sat at the head table awkwardly while half the wedding party rushed off with the bride. She stayed back there for like an hour. They eventually did let him back there to check on her. We could hear her crying and them arguing. The rest of the reception came to a screeching halt until one of the bride's aunts emerged and directed the servers to clear the tables and put on some music. They got divorced 2 years later.
This seems to be a fairly common predictor if partners aren't on the same page about the cake thing. And the one who thinks it's funny disregards their new spouse's feelings on the matter. It's a bad sign for the longevity of the marriage.
Happened at my niece's wedding. Her new husband full-on shoved that cake in her face and she lost it. Almost exactly what you described. Except she never got over it. From that point forward for the rest of the night she was in tears. Or screaming in rage. The wedding was literally ruined. A lot of people left when it became obvious that it had turned into a big shiz show. I spent most of the reception outside smoking pot with various guests young and old. So that was kind of fun. They're still married.
The groom gave a speech thanking everyone for coming that devolved in the space of about 2 minutes into a straight-up roast of his new brother-in-law. They were friends. And the brother-in-law seemed to take it in good humor. But there's only so much implication of, "I'm for sure going to be fucking your sister tonight," that you can take before it becomes really cringy. It didn't help that A, I barely knew anyone there because I was a +1. And B, I was on the table with the elderly relatives from that side of the family, who were less than amused.
I don't trust you, buddy. Trust me, buddy. I'm fucking your daughter.
Bride shows up almost 2 hours late to her own wedding. Southern California, in an open field, no water, no shade. She shows up and wants to get married in her yoga outfit. The groom shut it down, and when she refused to change her clothes, the groom decided to leave her looking stupid, and they never got married.
Good call on the groom's part.
At the reception line, after the church wedding ceremony, the bride had a large bottle of her favorite perfume and sprayed each guest with it, female and male, whether they wanted it or not, as they entered the banquet hall. Some guests complained that the smell of perfume was so strong that they lost their appetite and couldn't partake of the banquet.
Why would she do this?
They sang their vows to each other. Neither had a singing voice. Vows were generally batshit crazy. Like submissive in the bedroom. And not asking about where she was going. The auto-tune microphones were a terrible idea. Their vow songs shared a chorus and it was awful, and they expected the guests to sing along with the chorus. The vows singing lasted 20 minutes. Pure cringe.
Everclear, my friend.
The groom sang his vows. I honestly had to stare at the floor and slow breath to not laugh and get through it.
My cousin did this. He played the guitar while singing his vows. He doesn't know how to play the guitar or sing.
I went to one where the bride sang a song immediately after walking down the aisle. It was very strange, but she was a good singer at least.
Invite all their Facebook friends and expect 700 people and like less than 100 show up.
Ugh, I knew a couple who didn't specifically invite anyone. Just made like a public event on FB or somehow assumed people would know when, where it was and show up. They were confused and offended when almost nobody came.
I wasn't a guest. I was working the wedding. The bride got drunk and sat on some other dude's lap for 2 hours and flirted with him while the groom sat by himself at the head table with a defeated look on his face. This might be the most depressing one yet.
I wish I knew how the couple is doing now. Yikes.
Not the groom and bride's fault. But the pastor marrying them talked about his marriage and his kids for 20 minutes. He was obviously going for something of showing what marriage will be like. But he full up was talking about how his daughter, Kelsey, learned to walk this way. And his other daughter's first words were this and that. And that he and his wife make love throughout the house because that's what you do when in love. Etc. Bride and groom had to stand there holding hands for 20 minutes right in front of him as the other 150 of us had to listen about his sex life and his kids.
Oh God. You just reminded me of an acquaintance I knew didn't go to the wedding but heard from a mutual friend who was there where the pastor marrying them told the couple to divorce their friends under the promise that it would make them a stronger couple or some shiz like that. And they followed that advice. So pretty much after the wedding and reception, they just never again talked to any of the friends they had invited to celebrate their big moment. I thought they would be divorced within a year. But turns out that they're still together. But yeah, apparently married couples aren't allowed to have friends.